Apparently, the Swedes care a lot about getting out the vote, so much so that they're not just setting up polling places, they're flying them India. This is going on in northern Sweden right now. They've created a flying voting station. Basically, it's a helicopter with a private voting station built into it that they are flying to remote areas of Sweden to make sure that everyone possible votes. This is a quote from one of the pilots of this mobile voting station, John Larson. He said, "There are villages up there without road access where the Sami people live. And what's more, we know they're busy with their deer herds and elk hunting, so we go to them." And by the way, at one of the places they went to, one of the villages, there were 30 residents, only 30 residents, and 7 of them voted, which they said is great because in a previous EU election, only 1 had voted, so 1 out of 30. I thought they voted more in Europe. But anyway, this is a remote area, and I think that there is no starker contrast between how America approaches democracy and participation and getting people to vote and the European way, or specifically here, the Swedish way. They are going to such lengths to make sure that everyone votes that they will fly it out there, man. You can't, in America, you can't even, let alone expanding access, you can't even have the access you had in past elections. If you had X number of days of early voting, they're trying to cut that. If you have funding for 3 voting machines, they're saying, that's crazy. I think you can do with 1. If people want to vote, they should be willing to wait 8 hours in a line in a cramped urban environment. We can't even have the voting access that we used to have, and they're flying out voting stations. I criticized recently on the program that we had a period where, with Barack Obama and Democrats in control of the Senate and the House, we still don't have a national holiday for voting. Is it any wonder that such a small percentage of Americans vote, especially in midterm elections, when we won't even give them time off to do so? And in Sweden, they're flying them out in helicopters. Here, you need to have government ID that many people don't have, especially poor people or the elderly. And they're flying out voting stations in helicopters. Here, the GOP is saying if you're a student and you go somewhere and you live there for years to go to school, you shouldn't be allowed to vote there because you're probably a lib. And in Sweden, they're flying voting stations out to you. It's like they're living in the future and we're living in the dark ages. So here, Sweden, that is amazing. I am impressed with you. I think that it would be difficult optically to fight if we were to do the same thing. If we were to get a fleet of helicopters and we were to paint them with stars and stripes, red, white, and blue, and fly them in flocks across the sky to rural and urban areas around America to make sure that every single American who wants to vote is able to do so and preferably also to register same day, it would be so hard to vote against that policy. But you can be guaranteed, you can feel quite secure in the idea that Republicans would actually oppose it. Man, we are so far behind Sweden. I hope that someday we can catch up.